in recent weeks and has had the president and the former prime minister all speaking out against what is being described as MPs greed. And joining me now to discuss more, photo activist Boniface Mwangi, Josphat Ngonyo, who is an animal welfare expert, Moses Kuria, a communications analyst, and of course Edward Kisiangani, our resident analyst. Gentlemen, thank you all for coming today. You know, a survey, if I could begin with you, Boniface, was conducted by Ipsos Synovate. Let me just read to you the findings. They said 86% of Kenyans support the review by the SRC. What a couple of Kenyans have taken exception to is the way in which you and a team of your colleagues brought out that issue. What's your take on those who say you should have left the pigs out of it?
I think we know a pig is a very greedy animal. It's very selfish and self-centered. And so the pig was the closest animal we could use to communicate the message. So it was very important. Now, all Kenyans know that our members of parliament are Mpgis. So we drove the message home, and there's no other animal that we could actually use. And we know very well that pigs eat their own waste. Pigs drink, they eat their own young ones, the piglets. I shudder to think you're suggesting members of parliament to do the same. They're actually doing that because Kenyans sweat every day to work in this country. They earn so less and they pay taxes, and members of parliament to be pampered with very high salaries. They haven't done any work and they want a pay raise. They need to earn the pay raise. Yeah, Josphat, what offends you so much about the way in which Boniface and his colleagues went to the streets?
Well, let me first say that they had their constitutional rights to demonstrate, but in exercising our constitutional rights, we must not infringe on the welfare of others. The pigs indeed were brought into the picture. As you know, animals are sentient beings. They have feelings. They grieve, they feel pain, and they indeed feel harassed, depressed, and stressed. And we shouldn't have brought them into the picture. Particularly, we had alternatives. We could use puffed pigs. We could have used mascots and even placards showing pigs.
You've been accused of being part of a bid to cause sideshows and to draw away attention from the real issue. Do you support what MPs are doing?
No, I don't support what the MPs are doing, as well as I believe most Kenyans. Mm-hmm. But I do not support the involvement of pigs because imagine even us as human beings taking the place of pigs, being there in blood, being caused to eat what is not natural to us, the blood.
Boniface.
And no, pigs eat anything, and the pigs are safe. We didn't harm any pig, but pigs eat anything.
Well,
and it was all symbolism. We didn't abuse the pigs.
Well, as we know, it's actually against the law. The law, CAP 360, Prevention to Cruelty Act, states clearly in Section 3 that anyone who ill-treats an animal or terrifies it is guilty of an offense and is subject to going to court or jail.
Moses, much ado about pigs?
I would rather, this whole debate was not about pigs. It's unfortunate, and for me, I would leave that to the conscience of Boniface Mwangi. The other day, we were here talking about Labor Day, and I said it was a tourist day, and I think Occupy Parliament was Bonnie's day. So, I give it to him.
It wasn't my day, it was Kenyan's day.
Well, yeah, and I think you are the face of that, and I think he has done extremely well in terms of sensitizing, Kenyans about that particular issue. I would want to focus more really on the substance of the whole issue of MPs' pay. One, there is no way that anybody is going to set their own salaries, because the Serem Commission is a constitutional commission, it's a constitutional body. So in as far as that is concerned, MPs are flat wrong. The second thing is I would like to see MPs working more hours. Can you imagine a situation whereby employees work, is it 3 half days or 4 half days of 2-3 hours each? It is not a good example for productivity. So much as we look at the issue of salaries, We also need to look at the issue of how long the MPs are working, because I think that is even a bigger injustice to this economy.
Professor, Justin Muturu, the National Assembly Speaker, has been quoted in a section of the press saying that the Parliamentary Service Commission is the only one that has been mandated to provide services and ensure the smooth running of Parliament, including expenditure, alluding to the fact that the Serem Commission is trying to, in some way, usurp its powers. Is that a logical argument, in your opinion?
No, I don't think that the Speaker understands. Probably he has just taken leave. He doesn't want to interpret the Constitution correctly. Nobody is challenging the power of Parliament, and we are not interfering with Parliament. We are saying that we are the employers of the MPs. We have given them a job, and we gave them a job under certain conditions. They knew the salary they were going to earn. They cannot start intimidating the employer. All they need to do is that if they can't take the job, they just leave the job. So my opinion is this, and I stand to be corrected. What is happening in Parliament is that parliamentarians has lost this touch with the spirit of the nation. The spirit of the nation now is to save resources for development. They don't seem to think about that. Secondly, they are not reading the Constitution correctly. And for me, if you asked me if I were to solve this problem once and for all, if you read through the whole Constitution, and as Moses is saying, you do not set your own salaries. That's the spirit of the Constitution. If parliamentarians intimidate anybody and refuse to legislate because they have not been given the money they require, the simplest thing that a Kenyan should do is to walk to the office of the Supreme Court and say that the people we elected are not working. Advise the president to dissolve Parliament. And that is the solution that we have. And this Constitution is big enough. That is the solution. And once we dissolve Parliament, let us get people who have the spirit of the nation at heart and want to serve the country, and therefore serve with the salary that we are, as employers, able to pay, and then these guys can look for other jobs. That is the solution.
Boniface, do you feel Kenyans have let you down in this cause of, keeping members of Parliament in check? I think initially you guys were pushing for a 1 million man march, and it was just a handful, and really the same faces we're used to seeing on the streets.
We had new faces. We had the old civil society and a lot of young people in the streets. Service is actually, it's a humble thing to serve. Members of Parliament should feel very special that we elected them to go and serve us. They're not doing that. If we look at the last 50 years, the reason why we are where we are today is because they haven't done the work. 1963 we were fighting ignorance, poverty and disease. Right now we have a fourth problem, which is the Mpgis. And the problem is, if Kenyans don't hold them accountable, then we're in trouble. And we're telling members of Parliament, if you have a problem with the salary, resign. We still have a voter's card. We can vote again. And our fear is, if they break the law now and give them themselves salaries, they're going to break the law again and again. So it's not only about the salary, it's about the Constitution.
And there's also the right to recall your member of Parliament.
But that's for 2 years. They change the laws.
Yeah, but the law, Agnes, you see, the law for recall was distorted. But we know that Section 2 of the Constitution, the clauses under Article 2, say that there is no law, even if it is the law from Parliament, that is superior to the Constitution. So they have passed a series of bad laws, especially the last Parliament. So what we refer to now is the Constitution itself. And the Constitution is very clear about salaries and everything. And so we should not start begging, and we shouldn't even occupy.
It's interesting you've used the word begging. Allow me to just jump on that, because I want to take you, Professor, to a clip right now, and I welcome your analysis on this. It's of President Uhuru Kenyatta in Nyeri yesterday, and this is what he had to say about the pay demands by MPs.
To my brothers and sisters, who I will need to pass my budget and who I will engage very seriously, because I do believe that we have men and women of great potential who we have elected to Parliament. Young men and women. I don't know whether you've noticed. Young men and women. Great people. Great people. And I want them to believe in their greatness and believe that once we start hitting our double-digit growth, once our people have jobs, once our country grows, we will be able to pay them at that time 10 times, but not now. So please, I am really appealing to them that really, yes, we can look into those things in the future, but let us first deliver on the mandate that we were given less than 2 months ago. So kwa hivyo nawaomba wenzangu ambao wako hapa, tafadhali msinigonge sana, mnishikilie, muache tujenge Kenya pamoja. Au namna gani? Yeah, and I think that's what the people of Kenya want us to do. So with those few and very brief remarks, I say God bless you. I was going to say more, but my position now doesn't allow, so...
Prof, let me start with you.
Yes, you can see the president is in touch with the spirit of the nation. And he's just being polite by telling people, that the parliamentarians, that, look, Mzinigonge sana, don't hit me so hard. These guys can't hit the president. Under this current constitution, they can't help. They are not going to hit the president. If their job is to legislate, the president is not a member of parliament. The law is very clear, and if they are not legislating, the president can't sign bills which have been passed. So in the process, if they try it, we shall walk to the House, to the Supreme Court, and have the section of the government that is not working dissolved. Uhuru will not go home if Parliament is dissolved.
But the budget is coming up, Professor. He needs those MPs to be on his side. Do you understand the debacle there? Moses, let me first come quickly to you on that.
I don't think that the MPs can do grandstanding, because I was in Nyeri today, and when the president was making some of those remarks, you could see the spirit of the people, how that message is resonating with the people. So the same budget that we're talking about that the president would need the MPs to pass is on behalf of the people, their constituents who voted for them.
You're talking about no grandstanding. We saw them do it over committees until the speaker had to rule, just go ahead if they're absent, rule.
Take it to the bank, Anne. The debate on pay increase for MPs is over. It's over. They can't take it from there. It's dead. It's finished.
And it is possible for the government to incur expenses under the current constitution for some time if there is no parliament to legislate. We cannot hold the country at ransom just because some people have refused to legislate. So that budget, if it's not passed, we must dissolve parliament. That is the solution. And we cannot speak about two things. We dissolve parliament and we retain the executive and have parliament come to its senses and choose people who can earn this salary.
Boniface, I want to bring you in on the question of Adan Duale, who is, of course, the leader of the majority, and I'm sure you two have quite a relationship there because his name was on one of the pigs. Let me be clear, I did invite him to come on this panel, but he declined. What do you think? Is there double speak from your opinion as far as the Jubilee government is concerned? There we've seen the president saying no more salary increases, yet the man who in the current system of government really represents the leader of government business in parliament has said Kenyans themselves are the greedy ones and they're the pigs.
No, Duale was insulting Kenyans. He was defining himself. He said, I am greedy, I am a thief. That makes all of us thieves. We're not thieves. And so Duale is trying to blackmail us to tell us that we are responsible for electing him. If he thinks that people of Garissa are thieves, he should resign and come back and seek a fresh mandate. So the double speak comes from here. If Uhuru believes that they shouldn't have a salary increase, Duale should go back in parliament as the majority leader of Jubilee and say, and Naomi Shabanu is the deputy leader, and say, the president says no salary increment, and that's it, it's settled. So there's double speak from the Jubilee government.
But also Anne, apart from what he's saying, some of these people who are even in Jubilee may not like Uhuru Kenyatta. And this is the strategy. If they are going to increase their salaries, there will be a budget deficit. He will not achieve anything that is in the manifesto, and they will turn away. The way we change parties like we're changing Mpgis. By 2017, they will have turned against Uhuru and say, look, he didn't deliver. So the president has got it right. And every politician is selfish. They are doing it for their own cause. And
the problem of pre-election pacts, do you think?
There were pre-election pacts.
Which I'm sure, I mean, is formed the basis of having a man like Duale as the leader of the majority.
But he does. Pre-election pacts are not speaking to the will of the people.
Professor, yes. Who does Duale speak for? Does he speak for Kenyans or the members of parliament?
Because he was elected to speak for the people of Kenya, but he's now speaking for himself.
He speaks for the majority. As far as his JD is concerned in parliament, he speaks for the majority. He's speaking for the Jubilee government.
No, the statement he raised doesn't represent Jubilee.
Let me say this, and all of us having agreed about the issue of MPs' pay. Duale was also making a point that we are only 2 months from a general election. We vote for people. Then the following day, we have a completely different picture of them. So who is the loser? Is it the leaders or the people? Because there's a deep fundamental problem here, whereby the last parliament was bastardized. Now this parliament is being bastardized. The next parliament will be bastardized. We need to start looking at where the rain started beating us.
Moses. or Kenyans to expect that they would go in and defy what a constitutional commission has said? Is that
Probably
Kenyans'
not,
fault?
probably not. And I'm not saying that we have got answers to this problem. All I'm saying is we need to have a serious look at whether we have got a leadership problem or a followership problem.
I mean, if we strengthen the SRC, I don't want anybody to think about disbanding constitutional commissions, because that is blasphemy to this important document. What is important is that MPs need some tutorials on what our constitution says. It is possible that some of them have not read it. Chapter 6 talks about integrity, and it expects certain people, everybody who is serving, to serve, not to make money. They are not coming to make money. If they want money, let them look for other jobs. So that is the spirit of the constitution. And once you tell them that and they understand, I hope they will cooperate. But if they don't, take them home.
Gentlemen, I must wind it up there. I thank you for your time and your views. Boniface Mwangi, a photo activist; Josphat Ngonyo, who is an animal welfare person; Moses Kuria, who is an analyst and a communications expert; and of course, Dr. Edward Kisiangani, our resident analyst. Thank you all. Let's continue the conversation online on Twitter. #Checkpoint. Nicholas Mdimba is